begin, I want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. So we are going to be recording this webinar. It'll be sent within 24 to 48 hours. As I mentioned before we started, we will have a Q&A following the presentation. So if you would like, feel free at any time to submit a question in the GoToWebinar drop-down for questions. Just make sure you submit it to all panelists. You can ask, like I said, questions at any time. And if you have a chance and enjoy some of our content, please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn at Akumina. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our speaker. Troy, you may begin.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. My name is Troy Trudel. I'm the Vice President of Alliances at Akumina. I'll be running through the presentation today. I'm running the presentation today because I work with a lot of our partners and customers, including our partner Microsoft, who we're going to focus quite a bit on today in terms of technology. So when you take a look at who we are, and I promise we won't go into a lot about our company because we really want to get to the content that we wanted to share today. We are what Forrester and Gartner are calling an employee experience platform. And it's really a software platform that's designed to enable our customers to build the types of experiences that they need to better engage and empower their employees. You'll see through a couple of examples today that could mean a number of different things. But we are also, again, a very strong partner with Microsoft and build really on top of their technology stack to help people get the most out of that investment, as well as create the right experiences for their entire employee base. So you've made a big investment in Microsoft, as all of our customers have done. And a lot of people struggle with how to really get the most out of that investment in things like SharePoint or more importantly, Office 365 and Azure. And so we wanted to set up a presentation today to talk about how at Akumina, how we help our customers drive adoption of those platforms that they've invested in, how we help them empower their line of business users, how we allow our company's IT teams to do more with the technology that they have, and how we can integrate line of business systems in data into the experience. So if we look at the first item here, helping with Office 365 adoption, really what Akumina provides, and we're not going to do a huge deep dive into the product today, but what we provide are a couple of layers that our customers can use to build the right employee experience on top of that Office 365 set of services. So if you think of things like SharePoint, or you think of things like Planner or Yammer or Power Apps or Flow, and there's on and on. I could go on and on. There's a lot of different services under there. What we're providing is a layer that can allow all of those services to get bubbled to the top in an engagement layer for our customers. And we do that in two ways. We do it certainly for that front-end user experience. So think of the environment that every employee goes into, that intranet, that digital workplace, whether it's on the desktop or mobile. We also provide a management console that enables people to manage content and how information is flowing into that front end very easily as well. And we'll cover a little bit of both of this today. The first thing we're going to look at is a customer example of how you could drive this type of adoption. So I'm going to bring up a screen of an environment that we work on with one of our customers, very large consumer goods company, a ton of brands, a ton of content that they work with. And so what I'll do here is go into this example in a larger screenshot. And if I look at this example, what you're seeing certainly is a homepage for a digital workplace or an intranet. And so we've got menus and news items and the like. But if I look down the left-hand rail here, I'm starting to see information coming from multiple different sources. So my meetings that I have, those are coming out of Outlook. My notifications are coming from something like Planner, in this case, exactly Planner. If I scroll down even further, my latest documents are coming from things like SharePoint and OneDrive, or Delve, which is a service that Microsoft provides as part of Office 365. And if I scroll back up here a little bit, we take a look at the middle pane here underneath the news articles, which, by the way, are coming from SharePoint. We're starting to see things like conversations. We're starting to see things like tech talks. Well, these are coming from services like Teams and Yammer and bringing that content into the experience. And so as an end user, as an employee coming into this dashboard or this homepage, I don't have to think in terms of the tools that are bringing me this content, I just think in terms of, I know I can go to the homepage and I can get this content, again, whether it's news coming from SharePoint, items coming, or calendar items coming from Outlook, whether, again, it's social feeds coming from things like Yammer, or even, collaboration and productivity elements coming out of Teams. All of that can be consumed into a front-end layer that I have access to and can work across very easily. And so really what we think about in terms of these types of experiences, one is we always focus on what our customers trying to do and help them build the right experience based on their requirements. But two, we're always trying to help them solve that challenge of the kind of what to use when problem that people seem to have, specifically when they've got so many tools at their fingertips. Microsoft has a ton of great technologies. It's one of the reasons that we partner with them. But sometimes that can be overwhelming for your average knowledge worker who may not know what all of those different tools do. So if you can provide them with the benefits of those tools and kind of demystify them and let them use them more easily, you find you get better adoption and ultimately you get better satisfaction in your user base. So that's kind of the first pillar we wanted to talk about today. If we move on to the next item from the top of the presentation, talking about empowering line of business workers. And really, these are our kind of core tenets as we launch our software platform with our customers, is we always look through the lens of how can we make things easier to implement, easier to operate, and easier to manage. And when we think of line of business workers, we're really thinking of that operation. Implementation and management, they're really for when you're building something. So you might think in terms of developers and administrators. And then management is, adding things to your digital workplace. So again, you might be thinking in terms of power users or administrators. But that operational efficiency really does go to the day-to-day business of being able to go in and actually update content, build new pages, operate that environment in a way that allows you to keep it fresh and updated. So again, if I go back to my screen here and we take a look at this side of the equation here, this is what we call the app manager. This is our content management and site management interface. And really what it does, as the name implies, is it provides me with a series of apps that allow me to do the job that I need to much more effectively than if I had to learn interfaces inside of a platform like SharePoint or other types of very kind of large platforms. When you think of something like a SharePoint, you can build anything you want on top of it. It's a very powerful development platform alongside of being a content management platform. And so what we've provided here is an interface that, let's say if I need to manage a news article, it becomes very easy for me to come along and manage that content. I can click on the app, I can launch into an editing experience, and it's very familiar to me in terms of what to work with because it looks like any other kind of word processing based editor where I've got different fields I can fill in, different formatting tools. I can do things like set up scheduling, start and end dates. I can insert images. I can categorize content, do all the things that I need to do in a very user-friendly interface. And that could be replicated in a consistent way across all these different content types. And I'm only going to see the content types that I'm responsible for. So I'm logged in here as a user that has a lot of access. And so I can see, 10 different content types here in this one section of the site. I might only have one item that I edit, and as that user, I'm only going to see one app. And so it makes it very simple for people to come in and work. We also, of course, do provide apps for other types of users. So if I'm a site administrator, if I'm a developer or a designer, there are apps back here that allow me to do my job more effectively as well. Won't get into those today just due to time and the things that we want to cover. But, just keep in mind that that's another way that we help, enable adoption because you can build the best front end and design and well-designed site for your intranet or digital workplace. But if you're not enabling your business users to come in and have an easy interface to update the content they're responsible for, so corporate communications, HR, finance, all of those business functions that need to be able to produce content, if it's not easy for them, they won't do it as often or it will fall on IT shoulders and things won't get updated as frequently. And that's really going to devalue that front end, right? Because people go to these websites for productivity reasons, right? They go to get the content they need to do their jobs. And if the content isn't updated, that site's going to lose value, that implementation is going to lose value. So that was kind of the second pillar that we wanted to talk about. We get into the next item here. It's really one of the things that we strive to do, again, going back to the that last slide of empowering the whole business, including, giving IT tools that they can do their jobs more effectively within, but also letting them kind of get back some of the time that they typically spend on editing or creating these types of experiences. We work with a lot of customers who, when they first come to us, a lot of their updates are siloed inside of IT because subject matter experts might not know the platform that they're using to manage that digital workplace. And so by giving those line of business users a way to easily update things while keeping things secure and while making sure permissions are in place, and you can use things like workflow so IT knows that there's some structure around what these people are doing, IT gets a good bit of time back to work on things that are higher value to them. They can actually go in and build new capabilities. They can work on other parts of the business. And so if you take a look at this use case here, it's one of our customers, the Boston Red Sox. That's exactly what they're able to do now. When they first came to us, they had an outdated intranet that they weren't able to keep up with because, like many IT teams, they had a lot of other focuses that they had to work on. And their IT team is critical to them running their business. If somebody in scouting or baseball ops needs something built for them from a technology perspective to be able to do their jobs better, that is what the team at the Red Sox is going to do. They're going to go in and build things that are going to help them run their business. And so the intranet was always taking a backseat to those other priorities. So when they put our platform in place, one of the things they were able to do was give those subject matter experts across their business the ability to go in and change their own content, add their own content, update things. While it freed up IT to do other things inside the business, it also allowed them to build new things inside that intranet. So after the Red Sox launched with us, they were then able to start building in cool integrations to feeds from MLB, both in terms of game information and news information. They were able to build an integration into chatbot they had already inside of the organization and bring that into the intranet. They were able to bring online access to their employee ticketing system so people could do that right within the intranet experience. And they're able to go in and continually add new capabilities to the site because they can focus on that management, that extending of the platform, instead of trying to focus on kind of the day-to-day maintenance of content and things like that. And so it's one of the things that we do to help, again, drive that adoption, because they're able to bring in those other services and leverage those other capabilities, both from a Microsoft perspective as well as, again, kind of external data sources. And that kind of brings us to the next kind of final kind of pillar that we wanted to talk about today, and that's enabling an environment that you're running inside the Microsoft framework, inside of Office 365 or even Azure, to connect to other line of business systems. So every one of our customers has some of these types of systems at play, and it may not be one of these exact systems that your organization uses, but probably systems like it, IT and service desk management systems, HR systems, other things like CRMs or ERPs that you've got data or connectivity in that you need to be able to manage and bring to employees, but that can be confusing for an employee to kind of juggle all those different systems. So an example could look like something like this, where I have, an interface for me as an employee that brings together all of the different content and information that I need. And a lot of that, again, can come from systems like Office 365. So, for example, these new messages here that I'm getting an alert on and can click into, my tasks here, this calendar of what's going on in my day or my week, those are all coming out of Office 365, and we've got native built-in connections to bring those in. But as this store manager, which is the person who's logged into this interface, I have other things that I need to be concerned with. I need to set up the staff schedule for the week or coming weeks, and that sits in another third-party system. So the ability for me to see that information here, even work with it and start creating new schedules and do things like that is critical to bring together. If I scroll down even further, I might want to get into some collaboration environments. Again, this is a feed from Office 365's collaboration tools, and I can see different messages and interactions there. I can see training information coming out of an LMS system, or even work with my own, personal information and my own time off. And if I want to go in and even create a new time off request, I can do that. And so there's a whole bunch of different data that's coming at me as an employee. One of the things that our customers strive to do is, how can they bring as much of that into a central experience as possible? It's not about going in and recreating all of those line of business systems. In many cases, it's bring those data points in to alert me of what's going on in my day or the things I need to be mindful of, so that I can then go in and be more effective in my job. I don't have to juggle 10 different interfaces to get my job done. I can start at a central place and understand what's going on and then jump off from there. Again, all while leveraging that Microsoft framework and technology as a cornerstone of creating that experience. Because everything you've seen today, the two sites I've shown you here, the screenshot of the Red Sox, those are all running inside of SharePoint Online sites. So it's all running inside that Microsoft infrastructure, consuming those services in some great looking designs, but more importantly, enabling me as an employee to get at the content I need or collaborate with people or get at information that's going to help me do my job better. And that's really, again, kind of our whole purpose. Really what we're trying to do is creating a platform that allows our customers to focus everything around that employee who's logged in. So, those are going to be things like creating access from a mobile perspective, creating highly personalized experiences, allowing you to connect to multiple different sources of data to create a whole experience and instead of just kind of these siloed experiences. We allow our customers to kind of transform the way they use technology to do their business and to align technology to their core business processes so they can do the things that they need to do. Because every one of our customers, while they're trying to accomplish the same thing of engaging their employees and making them more productive, they all have unique needs that they need to be able to focus on as well. And our platform really allows them to do that while allowing them to make the most of their investment in their kind of their Microsoft ecosystem. So that's what we wanted to cover today. As Mike mentioned, if you've got questions, we'd love to leave the rest of the session here to answer those. And then, we can certainly share the recording afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. So as Troy's mentioned, right now we're going to move to Q&A for a couple minutes. If you'd like to ask a question, you can do so by selecting the questions dropdown in the GoToWebinar panel and submit it to all panelists. With that said, we did have our first question that came in from Jody in the audience. She wants to know, how exactly are you storing data within Akumina?
Yeah, so we're that's a great question. We're actually not storing any of the data that you've seen in the presentation today, and I'm not going to get into a big architecture thing. We can certainly set up a follow-up call for anyone who wants to dive deep into that. What we're building, if you looked at what I showed website experiences, right? Those digital workplaces, and I showed a management experience. All of the information that's flowing into both of those sits inside of SharePoint, Office 365, in those third-party systems. We're just surfacing that data in a consumable and actionable way for employees that are visiting that digital workplace or for administrators and content authors that need to work with it. So we don't have a database. We're not storing any of that data. We're simply, if you want to think of it and kind of distill it down, creating a wrapper around those environments to surface the data in a more compelling way and an easier way to work with.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. The next question comes from Jackson. He wants to know who actually can publish pages and designs. You mentioned it sounds like he's going down, so I'll sum it up. Basically, he's trying to figure out from the slide you covered if HR, Marcoms, and those other groups can actually publish and design pages, or are they just submitting a design for IT to approve?
Yeah, so I mean that more has to do with how you would set up your governance and your permissions. We have tools that allow people to do all of that. So if I'm in HR, maybe I only edit content and I publish that content and it goes into the approved designs that are already set up, and I don't have to worry about designing a page from the ground up. But I also, in that same use case, maybe in HR, I need to build a brand new page, and I do want to be able to drag and drop things around and assemble a page. Maybe it's about new benefits or something like that. And I don't want to have to, go and get a developer or designer involved. We give tooling like that as well. So it's more about what you want to be able to provide your employees with from a tool perspective, and inside your organization, who's responsible for what. Because you might have some people that are just content producers. They aren't page designers. They don't want to be or shouldn't be doing that. And you might have other power users who feel comfortable doing those things, and we can give them the capability to do so, again, without having to be an administrator or a developer or designer.
in a follow-up to that was who actually can set the government's rules on who can see what?
Yeah, so I mean that really would be an administrator going in and setting things up like permissions and workflow. You would do that natively inside of SharePoint, again, because we're leveraging that infrastructure. So because we're not storing the data, we're also not a user management system. So all of that is governed globally, which is something our customers love because they've adopted Microsoft as their platform. They want to be able to use it for the great tools that it provides around governance and around workflow and things like that. And so that's what we leverage.
Awesome. So that was our last question today. I want to thank everyone who joined us and took this half hour out of their day. We do have we did get a question that just came in. Let's 1 second. So this is from Hussein. He wants to know, Troy, how does staffing and training work for this software?
Sure. So we do provide training. We provide training for content authors. We provide training for administrators, and we provide training for developers. From a staffing perspective, it really depends on how you're going to launch the project. And what I mean by that is a lot of our customers work with partners. So I'm the vice president of alliances. We're a software company. We partner with interactive agencies and system integrators and other service providers that implement our software for some of our customers. And so the staffing model would look a little bit different in those cases than with some of our customers that actually go in and build their own. So we have some customers that have their own development teams and have their own designers, and they use our platform and build everything themselves. So the staffing model there is for the build phase, having developer and designer and business analyst teams that can build out the requirements and use the platform to build the solution. When you're using a partner, the staffing model can look quite a bit different, where the partner is probably bringing those skill sets to the table. They're bringing, business analysts and project management. They're bringing design and development resources, and then implementing the project for our customers. And so, depending on kind of how you're staffed up internally and how you want to approach these projects, you can do one of two things. Again, build your own. When you are building your own, or if a partner is building it for you, everything we've built uses industry standard practices. So there's no Akumina specific programming language or anything like that. It's all very standard techniques that you would use. So it's easy to get trained up as a developer or designer and be able to work with the software.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you, Hussein, for the question. So just to address, Michaela, I see you had a question that came in around pricing. We're happy to follow up with that offline, just because it is, just depending on what you're looking to actually do. So we'll have someone follow up with you afterwards. With that said, I want to thank everyone for their time today. Troy, thank you for your presentation. And like I said, the recording will be emailed out to you folks within 24 to 48 hours. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.